Welcome to the Leafy podcast, helping real estate investors and entrepreneurs grow.
Let's start the show. Hey everybody, welcome. It's Leafy Podcast. You're here with Brian and Jennifer. Tammy is away today, but that's okay because we have such a great guest. We don't even want to share her. We're just gonna keep her all for ourselves. So our current guest comes. She lived in 3 countries before the age of 70, or before the age of 7. I'm just keeping that because that's funny. Her industry disappeared overnight, and as a part of 2 acquisitions, she is no stranger to change. Rooted in 70 years of research and application in mid-market, global Fortune 500 organizations and government agencies, our guest today has more than 25 years of experience applying her proprietary spiral dynamics cultural DNA and change readiness index to predict hurdles to change. And she has delivered over 100 spiral dynamics programs in 14 countries on 5 continents. She helps leaders and teams around the world to become change ready and to get to the heart of what stands in the way of organizational goals. Currently, she is a co-founder at NVC Consulting. So we really want to give a big hand of applause to someone who is not 70, who is young and vital, Natasha Todorovic-Cowan. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm looking pretty good for 70 here.
You're rocking it. Yeah.
It's awesome to be with you guys. Really appreciating this. So where are we going?
Well, Brian actually met you. Brian, when did you get to meet? You saw her in action.
That's right. We were at a conference that I have a mutual friend of ours that does these decision-making things, and it was called Grant Town. And basically they were creating a utopia type of environment that came from Walt Disney's vision, where it was, they want to create a town that helps everybody bring their highest aspirations. And Natasha was one of the key speakers there, talking about her spiral dynamics and how to bring teams together. So, I think it'd be good for people to understand what spiral dynamics is, because I think it's something maybe some people haven't, but it would be great to get kind of an overview of what it is so we can, dive deeper into that.
Yeah, that was an amazing experience because it was a think tank where they brought together some economists, some food people, some politicians, doctor, just a host of different people. And the idea around that was really, how do you put together this community, this social organism, a community of the future, and really prepare that human system for this future that's coming? And is there really a different way to live together that's better, more effective, more inspirational, more fulfilling than these little pockets and cities and communities in the way we currently live? So it was an awesome initiative.
Yeah.
And
you say it much better than I did, so it's great.
There were some amazing people there, and the contributions were really fantastic. So it was a load of fun. So I got the people side of it. Other people got the political side or the food side.
Yeah, we deal with a lot of real estate investors and entrepreneurs, and a lot of them, and some of them have been in business for a very long time. And since we do asset protection and we specialize in a very specific type that really insulates them from lawsuits. I mean, anyone can get sued at any time by anyone, but it's how much they can get from you. Can they tank your life, or is this just going to be a minor blip on the roadway? So we do it to where it's a minor blip. That's what we're trying to accomplish. But people dynamics, I think, is very important, because with entrepreneurs and real estate investors, that's a people service, people business. Even for passive investing, you have to get out and you have to know and network, and you also have to know and start to trust people through this business, because that's how you're gonna grow no matter what you do. So how do you help people who are just starting out or who are wanting to expand? How do you use your spiral dynamics cultural DNA to do that? Do you use that for that, or how does it work?
Well, so the Spiral Dynamics is the brand that I own. And under that brand, we do training, we do consulting, we've got assessments. And one side of the assessments, the Spiral side, relates to the people. How are they motivated? How do they learn? How do they grow? What do they change from and into? How do they lead? How do they prefer to teach? And so on and so forth. So it could be sliced and diced in a lot of ways to be useful for folks. The dynamics portion is how do humans change? And where they change, where do they start from? Where do they go to? What's the trajectory for change? How do they resist? Who's ready to go forward, who's not so ready. So that's what the Spiral Dynamics brand actually means. And we've used it, our tools, and we've done trainings around the world, as you said in your very generous introduction, just teaching people this very simple thing, which is, hey, we're different, right? And in our differences, that's where we can conflict, that's where we can collaborate, that's where we can get super creative, and that's where we can devolve into some really ugly stuff. So knowing what those differences are about, we can either get connection or conflict. And that's essentially where we work. We've worked with leaders around the world. We've worked with coaches. We've worked with mentors. We've worked with organizations. And any problem, whether it's a process problem, a product problem, a performance problem, devolves into a people problem.
Right.
So we help before it becomes a profit problem, or even after it is.
So if you have someone, let's say you just have someone who's listening who's an entrepreneur and they're just kicking themselves going, I can't get forward, I'm stuck. How come what I'm doing is not working? It sounds like they could probably reach out to you and you would say, well, let's look at you.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a process, and it's this very simple, beautiful, elegant design process. And it's a simple question. You know, the question is, how should who do business with whom, to do what, when, and why. And in each of those pieces, there's a very in-depth process for figuring out who is this entrepreneur? What's their magic? What's their skill set? Who are they? How do they show up in the world? What are their passions? What are their gifts? What are their superpowers? And then who are they serving, right? And if there's a mismatch, then we're going to get faulty communication. We're not going to get an uptake in the product or in the service, or the market might not even see what it is that this entrepreneur is offering. So we match the who, the entrepreneur, with the person or group or market niche that they're serving, and then we look at what they are serving. Is there a match between the what and the whom? And then there's also a timing component. Sometimes people don't want to pick up a product because it's just not the right time. So if you can sequence it out and understand what you're delivering to whom at what time, then some of the pieces begin to align. But strategically, you've got to get those multiple pieces aligned so that you know if your message is right, if you've got the product that is matching the outcome that the customer wants in the right timing, for the right purpose, is the delivery right, and all those pieces. So you get that right, everything will be a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, that would make it just a lot easier, especially if you're hitting a roadblock and you don't know why, because you've been trying just to go through, why is this not working? Why is this not working? And then when you get another set of eyes on it, sometimes it's the things that you're not even really thinking about, or you didn't want to look at, you know?
Yeah, totally. We've got a little change challenge. We run people through that challenge and they try to figure out some of those pieces. And suddenly it's like, oh, wow, I really don't like working with these people. And they pick up on that, right? Or the message was all wrong. I was talking to me, but the people I serve best articulate things in a different way. So if I just articulated it a little bit differently, and it could be small things, and sometimes they're big things.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I just was talking to someone who is in reverse of mortgages, and That's her specialty, is being able to talk to people about this one product, because it has a negative connotation because of some really bad PR that had nothing to do with the product. It was people did not understand the product, so they misused the product, and they ended up getting into trouble with that because they weren't making certain payments that you have to make on time. And then her explaining it, having to redo that, it's like, oh, well, that's really interesting. That would help so many people. So if you have to tell them, well, how are you going to help these people? Because they're not understanding how you can help them. So
Yeah.
it's really, I think that's awesome that that's what you're doing. You're helping people learn how to serve the people that they got into their business to serve in the very beginning, that they're unable to do it.
And that question goes with leadership, it goes with mentoring, it goes with coaching, it goes with marketing, it goes with product services. If you just get those pieces lined up, things work a lot easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So when it comes to leadership, you know, we do a lot of like virtual companies with different people, countries, and you know, time zones and all that stuff. What are some of the kind of the things we should be avoiding or looking for if we're not leading effectively with certain people with you know, if they're not physically with you?
Right. So if they're not physically with you, that's a whole other game. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
easier.
Okay.
So, right.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to engage folks who aren't in physical proximity with you, you've got to work a little bit harder to remember they're there and not make assumptions about what they are and what they aren't doing, and really let them know that they are part of the team. So it takes a little bit more outreach. It takes a little bit more involvement. It takes a little bit more of, hey, they're going to be up at this time. Let's send them a note. Let's send them a message. Let's send them an email. Let's get on maybe Zoom calls more often to coordinate together and to include them. One of the big things that leaders do that gets in the way of leadership is they do what we call mirror leadership, which is they lead the way they want to be led.
Okay.
And if your people are exactly like you, that works. If not, that could be disastrous. And so knowing how people need to be led, what kind of a relationship they need with you as a leader. Do they want more of a top-down, tell me what to do, don't make me think approach? Or do they want a more collaborative, work with me as an equal, let me share? Or do they want kind of a hands-off? You know, don't tell me what to do. Don't even get input. Give me the big, broad parameters and let me fly with it. And then let me just check in when I need some support. So knowing who they are, knowing how they prefer to work with you as a leader, knowing what gets excited, knowing what just deflates them is massive. So avoiding that mirror leadership's a big one.
Yeah, I think that's huge, because I know a lot of times we have a hard time really connecting with people, or you bring someone on and you don't really have the connection, especially kind of with the newer generation too. I've kind of noticed we've kind of gotten away from getting to know people, and so they kind of come and go, and so since you don't know them, you end up being, I think, probably the mirror leader more times than not.
That's a big thing these days, right? I mean, we live in the age of distraction. We're so easily distracted by beeps and vibrations and this thing blinking and that thing needing us and the other, that it's very hard to track other humans. And the funny thing is, we did a piece of research that shows most human beings really don't feel seen for their talents.
And that is so crazy in a world where we have a million social media apps where you are putting, I mean, people are wanting to be seen so bad. You have kids that are like stripping down to almost nothing, Instagramming, you know, themselves half naked, and they still don't feel seen. And it's because, and I just want to scream, you don't get it. Like like put the phone down and go and talk to someone and just have that moment with them. Or they have the technology to connect, but they're not really connecting. So you might be on this FaceTime call, but are you really connecting with that person? Or are you thinking of what you're going to say or how you look on the call? Or if you're making a good, you know, face impression, or whatever. And I think that is something that we're going to have to fight back on a little bit. I mean, like as my generation and for other generations. And I think it's funny, we were talking to somebody else about this earlier, that the youngest generation, so Gen Z, which are in school right now, grade school, middle school, and that, they get it. They are being less connected with things like that. So I think that it's coming around to where technology maybe we can get it right.
Well, I'm going to just push back just a little bit on that, and I'll tell you why. One of the zones that I've worked in a lot has been virtual teams, right? Mm-hmm. The people who've never met one another working together as a team. And so you can't do that without the technology.
Now, I mean, that's our whole job. I mean, Brian and I have never met in person. Our entire specialty is working with virtual teams. But at the same time, it's a lot of work. You have to connect with humans on a human level. You can't rely on just typing, you know?
No, and so what happens virtually happens physically. Okay? What happens virtually happens physically. If we can't connect via our devices, we're not going to connect in person. If we can't connect in person, we're not going to know how to connect on our devices. And so I've worked with teams where we've brought them into a virtual space, and the very same dynamics they have virtually is what happens interpersonally.
That's
some of the connection, right? The personality masks the underlying lack of connection, right? So I've had teams that worked very poorly together, virtually and in person, same dynamics, right? So here's the thing. I think it's 33% of leaders are not seen as appropriately empathetic. That means people are saying, my leader does not connect with me, right? They're not going to do it any better, whether it's a device or in person, if they just don't know how to do it. And the very same things that you can do live, you can do on a device, right? And the issue is most of us are not taught how to make that connection. We're not taught how to lean into the affective component, the content component, the contextual components, the cognitive components, so that we are, you know, mind, brain, heart, gut connected in a way where you can say, hey, wow, this person's got me.
Yeah. And that does make a big difference with being able not to just motivate teams, but being able to network. You know, I'm trying to think about our audience and the people who listen to us and how this is going to affect them, because they're not all CEOs yet. Some of them are just trying to get into business. But let's say you're a creative, you're a graphic designer, and we've been telling you to get your LLC because that people are going to treat you a little bit better and they're going to stop asking you for free work. So go ahead and do that basic work first. But for you, it's think about these things that she's saying and think about how you can change to connection. Do you feel these connections with these clients? Or are you just going through the motions of sending emails or sending little Loom videos or whatever you're doing to connect? Or are you truly trying to make connections and gel with people that feel good to you? Because that can make the difference when you think, I want to really work with people who make me feel great about what I do. And just telling yourself that. Yeah.
The client wants to feel like you understand. If I'm the client, you understand me. You get where I'm going. You get what I'm struggling with. And you know how to get me where I want to go.
Yeah. You know how to take this design or this logo or this project or this flip or this kitchen with my budget, and you understand my budget too. Like, this is what I want, but this is what we're working with. Do you know how to get me close so I can still be happy, even though this is what I've got? Being able to do that and make people feel that is going to be the difference between closing that deal, whether it's you're wholesaling and you want that family before they go to auction, to be able to sign with you, and then you can help them out and whatever, to trust you to do that, or if you're leading a big company. So this is all like really important. Yeah. This is all.
You care enough about me as your customer to have my back, to bust hump, to make sure that we get there together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
what would be some tips to help people feel like they've been heard?
Very simple. This is like the magical formula, and doesn't matter how many times we've tried to teach people to do it. People struggle with it. So I'll give you the simple formula. If you can master this, then you've got it mastered. So it's leaning in and really feeling heart, mind, body, soul. What is the other person experiencing? And that experience can be broken up into two things. One is, what are they feeling? And then two is the content. So you feel happy because you see this breakthrough that your client can get, and you're excited because you know you can deliver, right? You do the feel and then the content piece. And if you get it right, fantastic, your clients will feel heard. And if you don't, what you've demonstrated is you care enough about what they're feeling and their situation, and the client will open up and start talking about it.
Yeah.
Too many questions, it's like you're being grilled. Just reflect back, be a mirror back until they are comfortable and relax with you, and lean in. Easy?
Yeah, that is easy. I remember.
Not so easy to do.
I don't know. I think it's easier than being grilled. Brian and I, we had another project we had worked on before this, and we were taking quotes from marketing companies. We were going to have a marketing assessment. Oop. Don't do that. I'm talking to my dog. Don't go. Okay, we'll cut that out. And we're going to have a marketing assessment, and man, it was just like we were getting grilled. It was like 19 pages we had to write for that. I don't feel like I was heard. I did all this work, all this research, and I'm hiring people to help me. And I'm thinking, man, this is like, a cavity search to get all this, even stuff that I didn't even know really even how to do, pulling different metrics and stuff like that to give them a good thing. And then it was like, didn't hear a word back for the longest time, and I'm sure that they were talking to the other people in the company and doing other stuff. But I remember right then I was just like, okay.
Well, you've done all your homework for them. You're exhausted. You know your business in ways that you didn't want to.
Yeah.
And then you're like, hey, come on, give me something back. Really? That's it?
Yeah, like little something other than, okay, thanks. Like later. And at that one, I was just like another type of consultant. So I'm just trying to get my one portion done. And of course you have the owners of the company. So I'm sure that they're trying to relate to them, but at the same time, you have all these people you've kind of annoyed. So don't do that.
Oh yeah. Questioning is like being, interrogated under a spotlight, a couple of questions, sure, but too many, people start to shut down.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been talking for a while here, and just FYI, everyone, we were talking to Natasha Todorovic-Cowan, and she is with NVC Consulting, and she is the brainchild behind Spiral Dynamics, Cultural DNA, and the Change Readiness Index. And she goes all over the world transforming people and companies and entrepreneurs by getting to the root of what is really going to for you locking into yourself to make these changes that you need so you can be your best, most successful person. So that's who we're talking to now. The last thing I wanted to end on, and this is, you're not going to be able to go way into this because I know this is a huge subject and we've already talked a little bit about it, but it's the leadership trap, because we do talk to a lot of leaders, or have a lot of leader listeners, the 6 pitfalls that sabotage leaders' power and authority. Can you just kind of go over that and maybe like a little tip? That's asking a lot, I know.
Well, we did a couple of them. One was that mirror leadership, right? I lead the way I want to be led. And that works only if people are connected with you and are you. The other one was what we talked about, was the empathy, right? If leaders are not empathetic, if they're not reflecting back what's going on with people, they're going to shut down. Another one is, and this is more technical, but from a psychosocial developmental perspective, if I am kind of locked into my way of seeing the world, the only kind of leadership that's going to work for me is somebody who is in that world. If I am open enough and kind of moving in my world, then the leadership needs to be a half step ahead to kind of pull me, right? Okay. Another one is from that content perspective. If as a leader, I'm working with people who are locked in their beliefs, and we see this in politics all the time, right? You can trust me because I believe what you believe, right? And so there's a group of folks that if they are really stuck on their beliefs, then the leader needs to have those beliefs and not fake it. They actually do need to have those beliefs. Then the leader is responsible for the context that they create. And very often leaders feel like they're being led, and they feel like worked with an organization, massive organization, they felt like they were trying to turn the Titanic, right? And that's, leaders sometimes feel pretty lonely when they're trying to get people to fall in line. They don't feel understood. They don't see their vision being carried out. They don't see their mission being carried out. And they don't realize that they're not communicating in ways that people will understand and get behind. So they need to understand, if you're a leader, you need to own that you are responsible for part of that context, that you are a shaper of other people's behavior, their motivation, the way they see the world, and you're shaping those relationships with others. So shutting down to that gets in the way of leadership. So those are a few things. I hope that's helpful.
That's great. Super helpful. Oh yeah, because I can see myself in one of those pitfalls. Maybe more than one, but we won't talk about that. No, but yeah, I think we all can look at that and go, okay, how can I do better? Because really that's it. It is. We all want to do better tomorrow than we did today. We don't have to reinvent the wheel on it. We can just make small little changes, small little steps, and then progress forward to where we need to be. We don't have to change ourselves overnight,
Yeah, we had a leader. His stress levels were off the charts. And he had about 50 employees, and nobody knew how stressed he was, but our tools picked that up. And so we helped him reorganize. We helped him put the right people in the right places. He was about to fire a massive client, and we kind of took him off the ledge, walked him through, got him a really great coach, and took 6 months, and he kind of went back to the client. They got back on the same page. It helped him rescue a $20 million deal.
Wow.
And if he'd been, at that high stress level, he wouldn't have wanted to rescue that client because he was just way too overstressed. Yeah. And when he took those little steps, and the little baby steps at the beginning end up being massive steps at the other end, he said he had a 50% improvement in his leadership capacities by taking the long view, that this wasn't just I'm going to magically transform overnight, but this was, I'm going to take these steps every day, day to day, to make sure I get to where I want. So when's the day to start? Today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it says if you just change 1% per day, the massive amount they can change throughout your lifetime is
one small thing. Who am I showing up as today? Who am I showing up as right now?
Well, that's a good one. Yeah. Because we all can make little steps, and sometimes it's hard. You get tired. Entrepreneurs, you can get burnt out. You're on the hamster wheel, and now you got to change something.
One more thing, not one more thing.
Yeah, but these things can be the thing that takes the monkey off of your back, So anyway, we have been talking. We're going to have to end this now. This has been just so informative. We've been talking to Natasha Todorovic-Cowan, and she is with NVC Consulting. And if you want to go to her website, please let us know what your website is, Natasha, because I don't have it on our notes because Tammy normally gives that to me.
That is spiraldynamics.org, spiraldynamics.com. That's spelled SPIRALDYNAMICS. And our advanced resources have articles on leadership, on teams, on education, all kinds of cool things. So we've got stuff for you.
There's a ton of information there. I went through a lot of it, and it's really great content. So definitely go there. We'll have all the links below as well. So make sure you can click on those so you get there very quickly and easily.
Awesome. And it's been really just a fun conversation, Jennifer and Brian. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we have too.
It's been great. Thank you.
And everybody with Leafy, y'all have a great week. And again, check out Natasha's links at the bottom and go there and change your life. 1%, little bitty tiny steps, but it'll be a big deal.
Attention real estate investors and entrepreneurs. Did you know that real estate investors are a primary target for lawsuits? According to the National Survey of the Court data, 25% of Americans risk being sued in their lifetime. However, if you are a real estate investor, you have a 95% chance of being sued in the next 20 years. Leafy Legal Services helps you protect your assets and strategically grow your business and wealth. Leafy Legal Services are experts at the Series LLC and Delaware Statutory Trust, two of the newest and most ideal legal structures for real estate investors. Leafy Legal Services have the most personalized and affordable solutions for setting up LLCs. Property owners are always at risk when it comes to their assets. Anonymity is so important. If you own just a rental house and you own your home, you have to protect yourself and your properties from any potential legal issues. Leafy Legal Services have the right solutions to make sure you are happy and feel secure. They offer cost-effective documentation that suits their clients' needs. For a free consultation and ebook, visit leafylegalservices.com. They are waiting to hear from you. leafylegalservices.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.